Well, good evening, everyone. Way 31 Storm Tracker Chief Meteorologist Jeff Castle. We're going to go ahead and start doing a little live streaming here as we await storms moving into North Alabama overnight tonight. Let me know if you're not able to hear me, but I think we should be all set and ready to go here with the live stream. But I do want to give you a quick update on what we are watching. There are no active warnings for North Alabama right now, but storms are getting close to the northwest corner of the state. We've got a line stretching from Savannah, Tennessee, back to the north of Walnut, Mississippi, back towards the Holly Springs area. And there are severe thunderstorm and even tornado warnings associated with this part of the line that is dropping off to the south and to the east. So this is just kind of an early heads up for you folks in parts of Lauderdale as well as Colbert County. This is going to be headed your way. Probably within the next hour or so, we're going to start to see this cross the state line on into northwestern Alabama. But let's kind of show you the overall setup that we've got here. And again, appreciate everyone tuning in on the live stream this evening. We're, of course, live streaming on Facebook, on my Facebook page, Meteorologist Jeff Castle. On the Way 31 Facebook page, we're also live streaming on the Way 31 YouTube channel. And we will, of course, break into programming as we need to here through the overnight hours if we do start to get any sort of tornado warnings that come in around the area. But let me show you the overall setup that we've got going on right now. And you probably got this alert a little bit earlier this evening, about 30, 45 minutes ago. Tornado watch is in effect for much of North Alabama, and not everyone is included. If you're over here in Marshall, Jackson, DeKalb County, not included in the watch. Same for Blount, Etowah, Cherokee County, but all the rest of North Alabama as well as southern Middle Tennessee included in this watch. Goes until 5 o'clock in the morning. So this is not going to be something that's going to blow through pretty quickly. We may see an initial wave of storms come through and then perhaps a lull or a pause, at least in the movement of everything, and then likely another wave that is going to develop and track on through a little bit later on tonight. So we may not be done with severe weather altogether here across all of North Alabama, actually until maybe around 8 or 9 o'clock tomorrow morning, depending on how all this comes together. We've got one line of storms coming in from Tennessee. We'll get back to radar in just a second, and I'll track that out for you. But then there is some lingering energy back to the west. In fact, probably easiest way for me to show you this is we'll take a look at the regional radar and show you exactly what we've got going on right now here across parts of the Mid-South and on into the Southeast. Here's the big picture. And I want to point out a couple things going on here. Number one, we've got a line of storms that stretches from the Ohio Valley back into the Mid-South. Then there's a gap as you head south of Memphis and off to the southwest. And then storms start to pick up again as you head your way back into parts of East Texas near the Louisiana border. What we've got going on, we've had an initial wave that's kind of moved through the Ohio Valley, and the back edge of that extends towards Memphis. And then there's another little bit of energy in the atmosphere that is starting to swing across the state of Texas. And as that heads in our direction, we're likely going to get additional storm development that will come in overnight tonight. So what we're going to be tracking initially, this band of storms coming out of Middle Tennessee back into northern Mississippi, that'll start to move into northwest Alabama. And then we'll likely get either a reinvigoration of this line or some new storm development that will probably take place back into parts of central Mississippi. That will then also work its way through North Alabama through the late night hours. So this is, I don't believe, necessarily going to be one line that's going to swing through and then that's going to be it. We're going to get one line that starts to come in and then probably some additional development that will push on through as we work our way through the late night hours. So let me kind of back this up here. And I do want to track what is back into Mississippi. You can see right now, 31 triple Doppler. Don't really have much going on here in the northern part of Alabama. Everything up into Middle Tennessee. You just saw a new severe thunderstorm warning pop up here. It includes northern parts of Lawrence, Giles County, there in southern Middle Tennessee. And then we also have a severe thunderstorm warning that comes right up to the Alabama border that includes parts of southwest Tennessee and northern Mississippi. And that's the primary batch of activity that we are tracking right now. So let me get you a better view of this. Taking a look at this storm. Again, tornado warned None of those warnings, of course, include northern Alabama at this point in time. But this storm moving its way off to the east and the southeast. I'm going to get a quick track here. Let me get the speed of this. Looks like it's moving about 40, 45 miles per hour. So we're going to clear this off, and I'm going to do a track on this. So we will track this from near Savannah there in southern Middle Tennessee back towards Walnut. Again, this is going to be coming in western parts, Colbert, Lauderdale County, probably within about an hour. So let me track all this back here. Again, it's moving off to the south and east. So this will kind of give you some time of arrival. Corinth, Mississippi, a little after midnight. Again, if you're over here into western parts of Lauderdale County, into Colbert County, specifically around the Shoals, it's probably going to be around 1 o'clock in the morning. And if you were watching any of our forecasts, 10 o'clock tonight, everything that we've kind of shared with you online throughout the day today, every indication was we would get storms moving into the far northwest tip of the state around 1 o'clock in the morning. So that's kind of timing out pretty well. I will say the models have done a pretty good job as far as the overall timing of all this. So that's when we're going to be watching for this, again, coming into Lauderdale and Colbert County. Very likely there's going to be some warnings with this, hopefully just severe thunderstorm warnings as opposed to tornado warnings, although even severe thunderstorm warnings can certainly have impacts as they move on through. But let me get a close-in view of this storm, and I'll show you specifically what we are monitoring and, again, why the tornado warning was issued. And I'm not surprised it was issued because I was keeping an eye on this storm and noticing that there was some circulation associated with it. So this is what we are watching right now as the storm is passing just a little west of Walnut. Looking at the wind velocity, just a reminder what this is. The colors indicate which way is the wind blowing relative to where the radar is looking. And this is using the radar out of Columbus, Mississippi. That's the NEXRAD, National Weather Service radar there. Green colors, and so that radar site, by the way, is down here towards the bottom of the screen. So the green colors indicate where wind's blowing toward the radar. Reds are away. You get this sense counterclockwise rotation showing up here right along Highway 72 west of Walnut, Mississippi. So that's what prompted the warning. And that's what we're going to be watching along this whole line. In fact, you can even see maybe a couple other spots here along this line from southwest to Savannah back into northern Mississippi where there may be some areas of rotation developing with this thunderstorm. And again, that's what's prompted the tornado warning. So very likely, probably going to be some tornado warnings that are to come out from these storms. Hopefully nothing that actually produces a tornado. Right now, perhaps it's mainly a hail threat showing up. You can see four distinct hail cores kind of in the vicinity of where that rotation is showing up along various spots of this line. And that's not unusual. Rotating storms produce large hail. Sometimes rotating thunderstorms will also produce tornadoes. So hopefully we're just getting hail out of this. But you do see the hail cores showing up as well, again associated with this line and pretty well coincident with where we are seeing those spots of rotation showing up here across northeast Mississippi. Again, we'll kind of expand the view. This is still a bit of a ways out from the Alabama border. But it is tracking in the direction of northwest Alabama. We'll just kind of trace this back from state line, still about 50 miles or so out where we're seeing the hail core and also that area of rotation there just a little west of Walnut, Mississippi. So we got some time here. This is nothing that's imminent that's coming on in that we're going to have to be concerned about, an immediate severe weather threat. But again, just giving you the heads up. Storms here from Savannah to Selmer, Tennessee, back towards Walnut, Mississippi, capable of producing severe weather. Couple threats right now that we're seeing, hail, and also, again, that tornado potential. And wouldn't be surprised if this line of storms is also producing some strong wind gusts as well. But still, a little ways out before any of this does start to work its way into Colbert, Lauderdale County, You can see where Florence is relative to the state line. So we got a little bit of time before this comes on in, but just wanting to give you the heads up about what we do have on the way in here in fairly short order. Another product we can look at to track a couple things. You can track rotation. You can track also strong wind gust with this product that we call rotation. It's actually a wind shear product. And I will say right now, at least as what we are looking at here, not really seeing any strong wind shear being picked up, maybe just a little bit just west of Walnut. But again, that's not anything that really jumps out and catches my eye at this point in time. So again, that's kind of what we are watching. Let me show you again our tornado watch area, where we do have that until 5 o'clock in the morning. Let's get back into the radar. And by the way, if you have some questions, ask those in the chat here on Facebook. I'll try to answer those as best I can while we've got, again, a little bit of time before anything is actually in our coverage area here in the northwest corner of the state. But again, here's the wide view. You see the storms, they are lined up from the Nashville area back through Columbia, Tennessee, again, Savannah, Tennessee, back towards Walnut there in northern Mississippi. A lot of lightning with these. This is one of the things that we will, I believe, see with the storms as they move on in. In addition to the severe weather threat, there's going to be heavy rain. There's also likely going to be frequent lightning. There could be even enough of that to cause some problems with power outages if we don't have an issue with that with strong wind coming on through. So these storms are going to be very electrical, very noisy as they roll in across the northwest corner of the state. Again, I'll put things into motion here, just kind of show you the overall movement that the line is doing. A lot of these storms are mostly moving to the east, so that's why some of these warnings are lined up, kind of oriented like that. Northern parts of Lawrence into Giles County, again, mostly that area of storminess moving to the east instead of more of a drop to the south. But as this line continues to build back to the south and to the west, this activity that you do see in northern Mississippi is going to make its way into northwest Alabama. Again, probably, we'll say about an hour or so from now. We're talking pretty close to 1 a.m. is when a lot of this is going to start to come on in. You may start to see a little bit out here in the northwest tip of Lauderdale County out towards the Waterloo, Riverton area. A little bit before then, maybe as early as 12:30, we start to get some of this in. Then again, towards Florence, Muscle Shoals area, a little closer to 1 a.m. But again, this is all headed in our direction, and this is what we're going to be tracking for you as we head through the overnight hours, and in particular watching for any sort of tornado threat. Now, I will say damaging wind, probably the primary threat, although some hail, at least initially with these storms as they come on through. And just checking in, we're tuned in with the National Weather Service, so they're saying kind of the same thing, about 45 minutes or so arriving into the far northwest corner of the state. So again, out here, western Lauderdale County, you're going to see this activity first coming on in. And again, it's probably going to be pretty close to 12:30 when that does start to move on in. And potentially seeing some warnings, either severe thunderstorm, hopefully not tornado warnings, but again, that is going to be a possibility with these storms as they move on through. Now, I have had some questions earlier today. Is this going to be, a high-end type of tornado situation, long track, strong tornadoes? I don't think the atmosphere is quite set up for that. So we're more looking at perhaps those spin-up type of tornadoes. I think that would be the more likely scenario, that's what we would see as opposed to a long track tornado. But keep in mind, these spin-ups, sometimes they can produce winds 100, 115 miles per hour. That can do damage. That can be dangerous. That can knock trees down on houses, knock power outages. They do have impacts, even if it is not a higher impact sort of situation coming through, in terms of a strong tornado threat. But you still got to take all this very, very seriously. So let's see what we got here. Answering a couple questions. Got some folks from my old stomping ground, what I was at for 10 years in between my stints here in Huntsville, back in the Arklatex, chiming in, checking in. Appreciate that. Gail wanting to know about Guntersville. So can I relax and just go to bed? Works for me. it's going to be a little while, I think, before we get storms into the northeast corner of the state. Let me just show you a little bit of what we've got with future radar. Kind of mentioned how we might get a couple waves. We've got this initial line that comes on in, and then likely some additional development that will push in a little bit later on tonight. So let me kind of show you what our future radar is showing. This is just model data. Just a reminder what models are. They take the math and the physics of the atmosphere, run it through a computer program, and give us a picture of how things may evolve in the future. They're not 100% accurate. Models are just guidance. They're not necessarily the gospel truth, but I will say kind of what we've been looking at through the day today is working out actually pretty close to reality. It isn't always that case, so it's nice when it is that way. It gives us a little bit higher confidence as to how things are going to play out. So this is future radar right now at midnight. Pretty close to what I'm showing you on radar. Again, we got the leading edge of the storms back towards Savannah, Tennessee, extending towards Columbia, Tennessee, there in the south side of the Nashville metro. Let me show you what this is forecasting, and we take you towards that's 1:30 in the morning. Let's roll this back to right around 1 a.m. And at that point, storms, yes, should be in that western tip of Lauderdale County. Again, perhaps with some severe weather warnings associated with them. Let me check here, just make sure that nothing has come out warning-wise. I think we're still probably a little bit away from that, maybe another 20, 30 minutes before we may start to get some warnings issued for northwest Alabama. But we'll kind of move this ahead forward in time. We take you towards 3 o'clock in the morning. Most of the action, southern middle Tennessee, and still kind of back here into the shoals, so this line will be slow to move on into the east, but it is going to gradually settle in between about 1 and 3 o'clock in the morning there if you're in the northwest corner of the state. We march forward 4 a.m., just an hour later. Still kind of dealing with it out here into the shoals, but storms beginning to impinge upon Athens. Maybe still not a whole lot happening for Huntsville towards Decatur. By the time we hit, let's move you forward to about 6 in the morning. And that's when we'll likely be kind of in the thick of it. We'll say 5 to 6 a.m., Huntsville to Decatur. Still a little stormy out here into the shoals, but the leading edge is where we're likely going to see the greater risk of severe weather, and that will have shifted more towards Haleyville and Moulton by 6 in the morning. And notice, northeast corner of the state, there's still not a lot happening. So yes, Gail, if you want to try and get a few hours of rest in Guntersville, it may be daybreak tomorrow around Guntersville before we really start to see anything getting close by. You kind of see what I'm talking about here. Again, we've got the one line coming through, and then you're going to notice here at the end of the frame, we've got this additional activity that starts moving in from eastern and central Mississippi. So perhaps one initial line and then another band that is going to come through late tonight, early tomorrow morning. So that's why I say this is not going to be a one and done sort of thing. So this is going to be an active night. Our tornado watch goes until 5 a.m. It's quite possible there may be another watch that goes out beyond that comes out a little bit later on tonight to cover things through the morning hours for a continued threat of some severe weather here across North Alabama. Because as you can see, I'll move this to 9 o'clock in the morning. At least what this model is saying is it may be 9 a.m. Before we can give the all clear for everyone, before we can say, okay, the last of the strong storms has moved out of far northern Alabama. So again, you folks in Sand Mountain probably going to get it last. Maybe it'll be pretty late tonight, perhaps 6, 7, 8 a.m. before you see much coming on in. And for the rest of us, it will be kind of a noisy and bumpy night between now and then. All right. Let me take a look here. So Teresa, I hope that answered your question about the timing for Lawrence County around the Moulton area. In Athens, I think I kind of answered that, Rogersville. So a lot of people checking in, and again, the timing is in flux. But let me give you a different visualization. Of course, that was the computer model that I showed you. We also like to put together kind of our own graphics as well, talking about storm timing. So let me show you that. I don't think this is going to be a whole lot different than what I showed with Future Radar. This is what we put together actually a couple days ago, and then I've been fine-tuning it as we've gotten closer. But again, out here towards the shoals, northwest Alabama, window of the most active weather. This doesn't necessarily mean all of the rain, but when we'd be looking at the potential for the strongest thunderstorm activity, 1 a.m. to 4 a.m. in the lighter red here. Basically, if you draw a line from Haleyville to Moulton to near Athens, a little west of Athens, back to the west, 1 to 4 a.m., that's going to be the time frame of the worst weather for you folks. If you're over here towards Athens, Huntsville, Decatur, Fayetteville, down to Coleman, Haleyville, and eastward, we're likely going to be looking at that window. And again, this kind of matches what Future Radar is suggesting, maybe 3 to 6 a.m. And then over here into the northeast corner of the state, again, for a lot of you, it may be very, very late tonight or early tomorrow morning before you see much of anything. So for much of Marshall, Jackson County, we'll say Scottsboro East, all of DeKalb County, main time frame where you're going to see that threat for stronger storms. It's probably not going to be until around 5 in the morning. And again, it may be 9 o'clock in the morning or so before we clear things out of that eastern portion of our coverage area there through DeKalb County. So again, that's just kind of general timeline to expect here. So you folks over in Sand Mountain, not in the tornado watch, you've got until very late tonight, early tomorrow morning before you have much to worry about. But for the rest of us, it's going to be a slow process as storms are gradually building in one line and then perhaps some additional development that will start to scoot on in here a little bit later on into the overnight hours. All right, let me get back here on the radar. And you may hear me pause a lot. I do want to try to save my voice in the event we do get some tornado warnings out of some of this activity. But again, here's the view. It's just a waiting game. I mean, that's really what it's been all day long. We knew this was going to be late. We've talked the last few days. We said it would be after midnight before we'd really get anything coming on in. And that's how it's working out. You know, it's just one of those things that sometimes we get our severe weather. We get our storms here in North Alabama during the afternoon, early evening hours. And sometimes it's late at night. It all depends on how everything moving through the atmosphere kind of lines up. And as it happened today, we had storms that fired in the Midwest this afternoon, Illinois in particular, and then built back into Arkansas, western Kentucky, western Tennessee, even into parts of Louisiana and East Texas here through the evening hours. Now we're waiting on our turn for all of this to come on through. Now the overnight timing a lot of times helps, reduces the severe weather threat. But this go around, even though some of the severe weather ingredients will be backing down in the next few hours, there's still going to be enough of a lot of those to give a continued support for some severe weather, even in the late night hours. So this is not going to be one of those things where, yeah, these are going to fall apart as they move on in. They may weaken a little bit, but still will be possible producing some severe weather. So I don't think this is something that's going to totally disappear, unfortunately, overnight tonight. So that's going to be a late night for us. I'm here until I need to be here. Meteorologist Amber Kulik will be in at 1:30 this morning, and we'll make a determination then about a handoff if it's enough that she can handle things by herself, or if it ends up being a little bit crazy, if we have really too many warnings, particularly any tornado warnings, then I'll be staying on a little bit beyond that as well, but hopefully that won't be the case. All right, again, here's the look at the radar, and I'm going to change up the information a little bit. Storm's getting close. Here you can see, move out of the way, Waterloo, western Lauderdale County. Storms are still about 20 miles or so back off to your northwest. But again, continuing to build slowly off to the south and to the east. We've got our tornado-warned storm back here towards Walnut, where again there is a possibility of a tornado. And this is the reason for it. Still seeing rotation showing up here, now east of Walnut on Highway 72. Again, the red colors blowing away from the radar, greens are toward. Get this sense of counterclockwise rotation. That's the way most of our tornadoes spin around here. And we're seeing that being picked up on the radar. Not sure we've got anything else that's going on here that would confirm a tornado. We look at the debris tracker. Don't see anything coincident with where we got the rotation that would suggest there's anything on the ground, any debris being lofted. We'll take a look at a couple other products. This is the wind shear product. We've got it labeled rotation. Not seeing anything that's jumping out here at me, suggesting that there is some low-level wind shear, which would be an indication of a tornado. So we don't see that. What we are seeing, though, is still a hail core. And again, that's not unusual when you have a rotating thunderstorm. And other things, you have to have the right temperature profile in the atmosphere. But when you get a rotating thunderstorm, to again see the possibility for some large hail. And we do have indications of that showing up here again, back towards Walnut. So hopefully the rotation in this storm, that's all it's producing right now is some large hail and perhaps nothing else. But still something that we're going to have to keep an eye on. There you see no active warnings currently showing up for the northwest corner of the state. It's going to be a matter of time, though, before that changes. So we're just going to continue to keep an eye on this. You know, I wanted to get an early jump on it since we had warnings close. Maybe got friends and family back here. For you folks in Colbert, Lauderdale County, maybe say, hey, we've got some rough stuff coming on in. And again, it's just kind of a waiting game right now with these storms. Okay, let me kind of track things for you. Take this out over the next hour or so, and you can see the arrival times. Again, into Florence, around 1:26, Muscle Shoals, 1:38, Rogersville area around 1:43. So still a little bit of a wait before anything kind of tracks on in here. Again, it'll be a little closer to 1 when we start getting back towards the Waterloo, Riverton area, maybe back towards Cherokee, there in western parts of Colbert County. A little closer to 1 when things are going to be right around the state line and then continue to come in from there. So again, what time are we now? 12:14. You know, if we're going to get some severe thunderstorm warnings, probably in the next 30 minutes or so, may start to see those come on out. But again, right now, just kind of waiting. Just checking the comments here. Glad the live stream is working. I always worry that there's a connection problem, so good to see when we are out there and everything is working. So I'm just going to kind of leave it here on the radar. I'm going to take just a little pause, but I'm not going anywhere, and we're going to leave this up with the live stream so you can continue to watch, and I will have another update coming up for you here as these storms continue to get a little bit closer. All right, back with you, everyone. Well, I took a little break. I was looking at some of the streaming on the Way 31 page. If you were speculating if I had to take a bathroom break, no, I did not. Like I said, just trying to save my voice a little bit, particularly until we get a little bit more information. Like I said, it's kind of a waiting game right now. National Weather Service did give an update on storms coming in from the Savannah area that will be arriving western Colbert, Lauderdale County. Special weather statement. So that may or may not mean they're going to issue a warning or not. The fact that they went with just special weather statement means that maybe they're not, at least for the moment, going to warn on these storms coming into western parts of Lauderdale and Colbert County. The tornado warning was expired here across northeast Mississippi for, again, that storm that was tracking through Walnut, so that's some good news as it appears the threat for seeing a tornado out of that had perhaps diminished. But let's take a look here, what we got going on radar-wise. This is looking at the wind velocity, and again, nothing that's too alarming. The area rotation that we were watching now east of Walnut, I think is really not significant. There is some broad rotation. You see it east of Walnut, a little west of Walnut, green and red, counterclockwise rotation. As you head to your northeast of Corinth, Mississippi, a little bit, nothing real extreme. And even south of Savannah in Tennessee, a little bit of circulation showing up here. Looks like another area back to the northwest Collinwood. Again, that's all coincident with where we are getting the radar picking up on some hail cores. So you can see each and every one of those corresponds with what I was talking about with rotating storms, R1s. Under the right temperature conditions, moisture conditions will produce hail. So the fact that we're seeing rotation, but we're seeing hail cores being indicated as well in the radar data is hopefully a sign that maybe more of a hail threat with that rotation that's being picked up as opposed to a tornado threat. But obviously, anytime you see rotation in a thunderstorm, you got to keep an eye on it because sometimes that rotation can increase, it can tighten, and it can produce a tornado. And certainly the atmosphere would be able to support that given the conditions out there. But thus far, no reports of any tornadoes out of at least this segment of the line as it's approaching our area. So that is some good news. Let me flip it back here on the regular radar. Again, the storms are very electrical. A lot of lightning with this. If you are out here into the shoals, you can probably see that back off to the northwest. I'll try and, we've got our camera in the Muscle Shoals area. Let me pull that up and get that camera position so that we should be able to see that. I imagine when these storms move on, they're still going to be producing a lot of electricity, so they're going to be very electrical. So I think I got that camera turned the direction I need it to. We'll come back and check that. Megan asking, do you see the line of storms possibly weakening as it tracks east? I do think in general there will be a decrease in the severe weather potential as everything comes east. But again, there's still going to be enough ingredients in play where severe weather is going to remain a possibility. This is not going to be one of those nights where everything just kind of falls apart. We hope that these storms will stay just below severe limits, but again, there's still going to be enough going on. If you step outside, if you've been outside here this evening, it's warm, it's humid, so there's plenty of that going around. That's a key ingredient in getting thunderstorm activity. You have to have an unstable environment. You have to have that warm, humid air for storms that basically feed off of that. So we've got that. And that's not going to really change overnight tonight. I'm not expecting temperatures to really drop off significantly until after this has all come and gone. So that is something that's going to stick around as an ingredient. Got a strong upper level storm system coming on through. Well, that provides the wind shear in the atmosphere that these storms need in order to exist. And that's not really going to go away either overnight tonight. So it's not going to be one of those situations where everything just kind of dies as it moves on in. Hopefully those ingredients weaken enough so that the storms will stay below severe limits, but no guarantees that that's going to happen. Let's see here. I'm going to take a look at the WAVE Facebook page. Just check the comments there for those of you that are watching the live stream there. And just make sure that don't have any other questions that I can answer at this point. Question, why is Marshall County not in the watch? You may be in a watch later, so I will say that. These watches are issued for a certain geographic area and for a certain amount of time. And the expectation was, and I'll show for those of you that weren't with us a few minutes ago when I took you through the forecast, it may be a good 5, 6 a.m. before we even see much storm activity in Marshall County. So that's the reason why. The expectation was between now and 5 a.m., where are most of the storms going to be found and tracking through? And it was determined maybe not quite to Marshall County at that point. And if you watch how these weather situations go, we get these severe thunderstorm or tornado watches that just kind of one after the other. We got one out, and then the storms move, and then another one comes out in advance of where the storms are located there, and so on and so on. So that's kind of what we are looking at now. So that part of northeast Alabama, Marshall, Jackson, DeKalb County, it was determined, well, this watch is going to go to 5 a.m. We may not have storms that are in those areas until after that. So there's a good chance if these storms continue to move through, they don't lose a lot of their punch, that there may be an additional severe weather watch that comes out later on tonight that would include you folks over in Marshall, Jackson, and DeKalb County. So that is certainly a possibility. Let's see here. So that was that. Melissa mentioning, yeah, definitely getting closer to Waterloo, thunder and lightning picking up. Again, not surprised that you're not hearing it and seeing it out there. In fact, we've got, if you even look here, these are the cloud-to-ground lightning strikes, a little bit even removed from where the rain is. So, that's a reminder of what these storms can do as well. It doesn't necessarily have to be raining for lightning to strike. So here's the situation to that. Southwest of Waterloo, a couple areas to the northeast of Waterloo, a couple lightning strikes, what we would call a bolt from the blue. No rain falling, but some lightning happening. And again, that's just an example of that we're seeing here, looking at the data on the radar. Again, just lots of people checking in. I think it's I notice on the WAVE page that'll get, I think that's kind of an automated response, just getting people to chime in about where they're watching from. And it's good to see, yeah, I mean, a lot of you just all over the place, all over North Alabama, keeping up with the weather. And, your tornado warning, it looks like, just came out for the storm here north of Collinwood, just north of our coverage area. And we'll have to wait and see if that continues on into what's considered our coverage area. Let me take a look at that. This would have been issued by the Weather Service out in Nashville. That's who covers this part of southern Middle Tennessee. There's one radar view. So that's the reason why. This is the reason for the warning. Circulation that's showing up here around Waynesboro, northern Wayne County, there in southern Middle Tennessee. Again, just outside of our coverage area. Show you another radar perspective. This is different radar Again, green towards, red away. So again, a couple radar views here, one out of Columbus, Mississippi, the other one out of Jackson County, the high top radar that is maintained by the National Weather Service in Huntsville. So again, that's the reason for the tornado warning there, northern Wayne County. Again, that is not our coverage area. But if you do have friends and family up here north of the Shoals, northern parts of Wayne, northern Lawrence County, and perhaps getting into northern Giles County, near and north of Pulaski. Basically, this is going to be tracking this area of rotation right along Highway 64. Again, across northern Wayne, northern Lawrence, maybe into northern Giles County here in southern Middle Tennessee. So close enough that we're going to have to keep an eye on that. Let me see. This is also our live radar. Out of Muscle Shoals, picking up on the line of storms, stretching from Collinwood back toward Corinth, Mississippi, Walnut, Mississippi. And just a quick look here at the wind velocity. And you can see it there close to Waynesboro. I think this is what we're seeing, rotation showing up here, even with our live radar out of Muscle Shoals. And that's going to come in handy, perhaps, if we do get some brief spin-ups here along this line. Right now, not really seeing that, again, outside of what we have up here in Wayne County. But you can kind of see some of the same stuff that we've been talking about with some of the other radars. There's a little bit of rotation being picked up here near Savannah. Greens toward, reds away. Again, we've mostly been seeing these area rotations, indications of hail as opposed to a tornado threat. But again, here close to Waynesboro, different story with, again, tornado warning that has come out there. In northern parts of Wayne County, this is not tracking into Alabama at this time. So this is going to stay north of the state line for the time being. This storm near Waynesboro, north Collinwood, it is moving pretty much eastward. So that's going to keep it north here of the border. But again, areas from Lawrenceburg, Tennessee back to Waynesboro. Hopefully the folks up in that direction watching the local coverage either out of Nashville. There's also a company, Tennessee Valley Weather, headquartered here in Lawrenceburg that covers this part of southern Middle Tennessee. So hopefully folks are getting the warning and the alert there and seeking shelter. What we'll have to watch for, we do cover Lincoln County here in southern Middle Tennessee. Again, right now the warning doesn't include Giles County, but if we start to get a warning into Giles County, then this storm could impact areas of northern Lincoln County. That's a ways off, but let me just give you folks up there near and north of Fayetteville, just kind of a heads up. These storms are kind of tracking east around 45 miles per hour. We'll say this is going to go a little south to east to get in Fayetteville. This would be the time of arrival, so we got a while, hour and a half before this would even be a threat in Fayetteville, Tennessee, if it does hold together and continues to be at least some potential for a tornado. Pulaski, Tennessee, a little bit sooner than that. About an hour or so from now is when it would be arriving there. So again, just something we're watching way off into the distance, but for you folks in Lincoln County, in southern Middle Tennessee, Fayetteville northward, if this storm was going to pose a threat, we're still a good hour and a half away from that happening. Yep, we're good for now. I got our behind-the-scenes production folks, got a couple of them here with me, just in case we need to go onto the TV side of things. I think for now we're good with just the streaming until we get a little bit closer in of any sort of threats. But again, we're watching, keeping an eye on it as these storms continue to track across Middle Tennessee. And also heading very soon into northwest Alabama. We're almost there. Get Waterloo, Riverton area. Thought someone mentioned that, glad that we talked about Waterloo. I'm pretty sure I've been out here before when I worked in Huntsville, about more than 10 years ago. I did a lot of school visits in my previous time in the Huntsville market. And I'm pretty sure I was there in Waterloo for a school talk. That was the far reach of our coverage area here in in North Alabama. But again, out there towards Waterloo, I remember going out all the way out there for a school talk years ago. So that's why I always mention you folks in the Waterloo. And back when I was in this market before, for those of you that don't know, I previously worked in the Huntsville area at a different station in town for about 12 years and really got to know the area very well. Did a lot of school talks, did a lot of driving. That really helps you to get to know the area when you're doing all that traveling. And again, Waterloo is one of those places I remember traveling to for that. All right, here's the latest that we've got going on. Again, storms are kind of lined up from southern Middle Tennessee around Waynesboro. Again, there is a tornado warning on that storm, but right now it's moving mostly east. It'll stay north of the Alabama border for the time being, and also just a little north of what we cover TV-wise in North Alabama. Back towards Savannah, the line is there. A lot of lightning. That's what you see here, all the little lightning symbols. Those are all the cloud-to-ground lightning strikes in the last 30 minutes. Back towards Corinth, Mississippi, and Walnut, Mississippi. Strong storms. Everything is building east and a little jog to the southeast. All the warnings, again, just outside of northwest Alabama, but probably only a matter of time before we start getting some warnings in here. The yellow boxes, those are severe thunderstorm warnings. The red boxes, when those pop up, those are your tornado warnings. So again, we've got the one tornado warning, Wayne and Lawrence County, southern Middle Tennessee, but otherwise severe thunderstorm warnings for much of the rest of this line. None of those warnings currently in effect for North Alabama. So again, we're just kind of waiting for everything to get on in here. There is a tornado watch. It goes until 5 a.m. Looks like they've trimmed some of the watch back here in western and northwest Tennessee as the storms have come through that area, so threat of severe weather has ended for those folks. But we've still got a ways to go around here in North Alabama and areas of southern Tennessee. Tornado watch goes until 5 o'clock in the morning. It extends all the way east towards Huntsville, does not include the far northeast corner of the state. So Blount's, Marshall, Jackson, DeKalb, Etowah, Cherokee County, not included in any sort of weather watch. It's most likely, and I'll run you through the forecast here in just a second, most likely going to be 5 a.m. or later before we get much of any sort of inclement weather that's going to arrive in that northeast corner of the state. Just get a quick look here. Again, we may get some warnings, severe thunderstorm warnings perhaps coming out shortly. But at least for now, a little bit of a pause on those as storms are coming into northwest Alabama. All right, let me show you the latest hour-by-hour forecast here. And this may have updated since I last showed it. Future radar doing pretty good. I mean, it's got that storm moving through Waynesboro, Wayne County, Tennessee, stretching back to near and a little west of Corinth, Mississippi. 1 a.m., let's see, about 22 minutes from now, starting to move into northwest Lauderdale County, again, Waterloo, Riverton area, approaching Cherokee in Colbert County. It'll take you to 3 o'clock in the morning. At that point, storms around Fayetteville, extending back probably a little north of Athens, right along the state line, close to, let's see what we got up here, Elkmont, the Ardmore area, back towards Leicester, Mount Roswell there in northwest parts of Limestone County, and extending back through the shoals. So you folks in the shoals will be kind of right in the thick of this by, it looks like around 3 o'clock in the morning. So we're talking Sheffield, Tuscumbia, Muscle Shoals, Florence area. May still not have much going on towards Decatur, Huntsville, and points east and south of there, but it will be only a matter of time before you get your turn. Let's take you a couple hours ahead. This is 5 o'clock in the morning. At that point, probably some rain, maybe some storm activity around Huntsville, to just outside of Scottsboro towards the Skyline area, Newmarket, some heavier storms showing up here, Decatur, back to Moulton, Haleyville. Again, there could be some severe weather that's occurring with this activity. Certainly we'll have still some of the ingredients in play that could support that. Finally, by the time we get 7 o'clock in the morning, maybe some rain in parts of Jackson County, Scottsboro southward in particular to Guntersville, maybe towards Fort Payne. Another batch of some storms coming on through. Likely the strongest ones will be found here from near Coleman, back towards Double Springs area there in Winston County. And then finally, all that is going to push into Sand Mountain. So here we go around 7:30, 8 o'clock in the morning. That's when you may see the strongest storm activity. Finally here, Marshall County into parts of DeKalb County as well. Again, if the model's right, this is how it's going to time out. This model's done pretty decent so far, indicating the movement and time of arrival of storms. And then by 9 o'clock in the morning, heaviest storm activity should be clearing DeKalb County, crossing the state line into Georgia, and then that's likely going to be it for any severe weather potential. Of course, to the west of there, the threat will diminish in the hours leading up to then. But again, that's just kind of an overall breakdown of how things are looking, how things are trending, what the data is telling us. And again, thus far, the data's done a pretty decent job. The data also says, though, that there will be continued severe weather threat for the overnight hours. I hope that part of it is wrong, but you know, this is just what we're going to have to contend with. So just continue to watch and wait and see what happens with these storms. Again, we got our tornado warning storm there in Wayne County, just north of our coverage area, but close enough that you know, we're going to have to keep an eye on everything. Let's run through the radars. This is the radar out of Columbus, Mississippi. Again, seeing that strongest storm there near Waynesboro, but also very strong storms back here towards Corinth, Mississippi, back towards Walnut. Again, severe thunderstorm warnings associated with that activity. Quick check of the wind velocity. See the circulation there around Waynesboro. Again, that prompted a warning. Getting a new scan update here. And there are still some relatively weak areas of rotation showing up here. Southern Wayne County, again, the green towards, red's away from the radar, so a little bit of broad rotation there, nothing that's real strong. Same here southeast of Savannah, Tennessee, nothing that's too alarming. Near Corinth, Mississippi, again, similar situation. And east of Walnut, there along Highway 72, again, there is some rotation that's being picked up by radar. Just nothing right now that appears to be strong enough to prompt a warning for a tornado. But in the vicinity of these areas of rotation, there is hail. See that here near Corinth, near Walnut, also near Waynesboro as well, where, again, we do have the tornado warning. And, again, you look at the wind shear product, nothing that's jumping out here, maybe a little bit showing up with that area of rotation, a little east of Walnut, some wind shear being picked up. So we'll have to keep an eye on that, see if that starts to become a little bit better defined or more significant. And that corresponds, again, with this area of circulation showing up right along Highway 72. So we are seeing that there that we're going to keep an eye on. And we do have our live radar out of Muscle Shoals. When it comes to these brief spin-up type of tornadoes, the closer the radar is to the storm, the easier those are to see. So if something's going to develop, we have a pretty good chance of maybe picking it up here on our radar versus some of the other radars that are farther away. That's one of the reasons why we have this triple Doppler network, is to be able to see these things. And with that in mind, let me pull up the wind velocities here. And Again, seeing that change in the wind here around Waynesboro. Again, that's the most significant thing that we've got showing up in terms of any circulation. There you see the live sweep coming on in. And those other areas that we were seeing of some rotation on the radars farther away, which by the way are looking up a little bit higher in the sky, not really seeing that, looking a little closer to the ground. So again, that's an indication, maybe more mid-level rotation instead of low-level rotation. That's generating some hail, but perhaps not necessarily a tornado threat. But again, particularly these storms come into Lauderdale, Colbert County. We're going to be relying on our live radar there in Muscle Shoals quite a bit, just to keep a close watch on what's happening in the low levels of the storm, and if there's a concern about any sort of brief spin-up type of tornado activity developing. So keeping an eye on that. Again, latest look here. All the warnings are in Tennessee and Mississippi. Again, we got our tornado-warned storm here, northern Wayne into the Lawrence County. Quick look at that. Again, this is just outside of our coverage area. I want to take a couple views of the radar here and kind of see what the latest is. We'll start with the Huntsville radar out of Jackson County. And I will say the rotation still there, green toward, red's away. So again, this is still very close to Highway 64. It's now east of Waynesboro, but it is tracking towards Etheridge here in Lawrence County, southern middle Tennessee. Folks in Lawrenceburg, probably this is going to stay just to your north. I'll move this back in time just to see how this has progressed. Back here towards Waynesboro, again, when the warning came out, this is a little bit more significant. Colors are brighter, indicating some stronger wind and rotating wind at that. As this has moved east, it's kind of weakened a little bit, still there, but maybe not quite as strong as it's progressed eastward. So that's something that you like to see happen. It's the other view out of the Columbus, Mississippi radar, not quite as well defined, but still there, green towards, red's away. Again, in the same area that the Jackson County high top radar is showing where we have that circulation showing up. So again, being confirmed by two different radars and even a third radar. Again, near Waynesboro, green's toward, red is away. Pretty close to 64, a little bit off of that to the north. And again, this is tracking primarily through northern parts now of Lawrence County there in southern middle Tennessee. Again, that's just a little outside of our coverage area. And again, this is not taking a turn that's going to bring it down into Alabama. So this is going to stay just north of the state line as it stands right now. But we're going to continue to keep an eye on it. Again, that's your tornado warning and severe thunderstorm warnings outside of that along this line. Nothing that is currently in effect in terms of either a severe thunderstorm or tornado warning going on here for North Alabama. All right, let me get back into chat here. Just take a look. Question-wise. Ron, this was, I didn't see this. Ron was asking, are we still capped? We talk about a cap in the atmosphere. Really the only reason why we've not had storms up until now, there wasn't, one of the ingredients that you need to get storms going, you have to have lift in the atmosphere. Most of the time that's accomplished by cold front moving on in, that helps lift the air. Upper level storm system, the dynamics associated with that helps lift the air. You know, when you get in summertime, you get the daytime heating effect that happens. That helps lift the air. What we were lacking throughout the day today and why things stayed pretty quiet for the most part, other than a couple showers first thing this morning, is there was really nothing moving through North Alabama to help lift the air. If that had happened, we probably would have had some storms fire off. And perhaps, even though some of the severe weather ingredients were lacking, we might have gotten a stronger storm out of it, but we didn't have that lift happening. We do now, and that's why these storms are sustaining themselves as they're moving on in. We've got the lift happening in the atmosphere. When we talk about a cap, that is something that kind of inhibits storms from developing and forming, or in some cases maybe limits them from really intensifying. All the data kind of suggesting that there maybe would be that going on, that there'd be a little bit of what we call convective inhibition going on, and that was kind of an expectation, which is why we weren't anticipating that this was going to be a higher end sort of severe weather threat coming through. And again, we're hoping that that's going to keep things relatively tame compared to what it could otherwise be. Severe thunderstorm warning now just issued for Colbert as well as Lauderdale County. So this is our first warning of the evening or the night, if you will, for North Alabama. So let's kind of get in here and take a closer look. And that is basically for this segment of storms back towards Corinth, Mississippi, and towards Walnut, that is going to be tracking its way into western parts of Lauderdale County, as well as the extreme northwest corner of Colbert County. So let me get a look at the motion on this. Looks like the storms are slowing down a little bit, now only moving east at around 20, 25 miles per hour. So let me adjust the track on here to that. We'll say 25. Again, the leading edge is back here towards Corinth, Mississippi, headed east. So the warning does not quite go to Florence. Muscle Shoals doesn't include you in Cherokee, but areas in the western part of Lauderdale County included, including Waterloo, around 138. So we're about almost 45 minutes or so out from the heavier part of this line of storms back towards Corinth, Mississippi, making its way towards you folks in Waterloo. But again, just a heads up, severe thunderstorm warning. Possibility that this storm could produce some hail, definitely seeing indications of that. And maybe some strong wind gusts, 60 mile per hour winds. Hail up to quarter size will be a possibility. Again, this is the time of arrival. Most of this is back in Mississippi, but Waterloo, the first community there, in western Lauderdale County, around 1:38. There you see the current time. Let me just double check. Yes, 12:51 current time. So Waterloo around 1:38 before that starts rolling on in. Again, severe thunderstorm warning. Murphy Crossroads, right here on the state line as well, arriving around 1:53, and then into Cypress Inn, which is there in far southern parts of Wayne County. That coming in just a little bit past 2 o'clock in the morning. So again, that's our first severe thunderstorm warning of this outing, of this particular severe weather threat coming on through. I am going to step away for just a second. I'm going to let my production folks know. We'll likely do, typically on these severe weather days, these 31 alert days, we do top of the hour break-ins on television. Of course, we do a lot more here streaming nowadays on the digital side of things, on, of course, our streaming apps and on our website, as well as on social media. But I think we are going to do a top of the hour update as well, because we are scrolling this information over the air right now on our channel. So a lot of folks are kind of tuned in, probably seeing that warning came out. So I'm going to let them know that we're going to do a live cut-in, and then I'll be back with you folks in just a second. All right, I'm back with y'all. I got a little earpiece I got to put in so the folks behind the scenes can communicate with me, because we are going to do a live on-air update here in just a few minutes, probably about 10 minutes or so from now. We're going to do that as we go from one of the things that's showing on our air right now to the other as we head into that new programming. So again, we've got severe thunderstorm warning that is in effect for parts of Lauderdale as well as Colbert County. That goes until 1:45. So basically about an hour lead time, or at least an hour-long warning, even though the storms are not quite there yet. You do have rain in Waterloo that we're picking up here on 31 triple Doppler, but the warning is for this more active area back towards Corinth, Mississippi, and the fact that that is tracking east and we'll be moving on in here. So what you got right now around Waterloo, it is not what the severe thunderstorm warning was for. You've got some leading rain, a little thunder and lightning, but again, the warning was for the more active weather, the more significant thunderstorm activity back off to your west. Again, we're going to utilize all the resources that we have here with our radar network, both the ones that we have access to and the ones that are ours alone. So let me take a look first. Columbus, Mississippi radar. Just want to check. Still a little rotation. You know, I see this, yeah, catches my eye, rotation, but it doesn't catch my eye to the point that I think we have any sort of imminent tornado development. But again, that continues to be right along, actually just a little north of Highway 72 as it takes a little dip here near Iuka, Mississippi, and then on into parts of Colbert County. But again, watching that. So for you folks in Waterloo, just want you to know, got my eye on it, keeping a watch on it back out to the west. But again, nothing that's showing up here, at least to what I'm seeing in the radar data, that's particularly alarming in terms of any sort of imminent tornado threat. Now let's take a look at our live radar out of, again, Muscle Shoals. This is one of our 31 triple Dopplers. Again, showing the more intense storm there. Looks like they just put out a new severe thunderstorm warning, probably to replace one that was expiring at 1 o'clock. So they extended that now since that storm is not quite cleared. That northeastern corner of Mississippi and southern middle Tennessee. And again, that's going to be tracking towards the Waterloo area. Let me take a look here at our velocity tracker, and nothing that jumps out here on me. Again, our radar is in Muscle Shoals, so at the moment, that is the closest radar to where this thunderstorm is. Radar farther away, Columbus, Mississippi, seeing some rotation higher up in the storm. As we're looking lower into the storm, we're not really seeing that here on our radar out of Muscle Shoals. So again, that's some good news. That means tornado potential looks like it stays fairly low, at least at this point in time with this storm coming on through, since we're not seeing any low-level rotation with our live radar. So mostly some mid-level rotation. Again, that typically is something that can produce hail in these storms. So we'll continue to keep an eye on that as that storm continues to get a little bit closer. Otherwise, let's kind of track it. Again, this is, you know, some heavy stuff. Heavy rainfall showing up in the bright red here, right along the state line between Tennessee, Mississippi, and again, about into that northwestern tip. It's as far northwest as you can go in Alabama there in western Lauderdale County. And that is getting closer. We will keep an eye on all of this. For any rotation, there's just a little broad rotation showing up there. But again, nothing that is particularly concerning. Again, this is our radar out of Muscle Shoals. Maybe a little bit north of the state line. Greens toward, reds away, so just a touch showing up on our radar there. That's actually just north of the Mississippi-Tennessee border. We're keeping an eye on it. Yeah. Oh, okay, yeah, no, that's fine, that's fine. Okay. All right, we're within about 5 minutes of doing this live on-air update. So you will hear me kind of. Okay, all right, thank you. When we get to that, we're talking about some other streaming things as well. Let's see. Checking the questions here in the chat on the Way TV Facebook page. Got a question from someone in Montgomery. Wanting to know, are things clear for Montgomery County so I can go to bed? I assume you meant Montgomery County here in Alabama. And yes, storms are not going to arrive in that part of the state until probably after sunrise in the morning. So you should be good there for most of tonight. Someone thanking for coverage in Lawrence County, Tennessee. Again, that's typically just outside of our coverage area, but close enough. That at least here on the live stream, we're definitely going to talk about things that are going up in that direction. Taylor asking, is this the type of system where once the line moves through our area, it's over? This particular line, yes. Now, again, as we've been kind of seeing in the data, there may be some additional development that takes place and moves in overnight tonight. So we're going to get this line, but then we're also going to have to watch some development that'll probably take place more in central Mississippi, and then that will move up to the northeast and arrive in North Alabama a little bit later on tonight. So this is not just one solid line that's going to come through and be done. I think we'll get one batch that'll move in, and then we'll likely get another batch coming at us from the south and west a little bit later on into the overnight hours. But certainly here into the shoals and northwest Alabama, we get through the next few hours, and I think we'll be relatively quiet across that part of North Alabama, probably by 3, no later than 4 in the morning. Again, watching right here, fortunately this has continued to move a little bit north of the state line, so this may stay just outside of Lauderdale County. But again, this is our live radar out of Muscle Shoals, picking up on a little rotation here, again, just north of the Mississippi border, there into parts of southern Middle Tennessee. And again, this does mesh with what we're seeing on other radars. Again, this is the radar out of Columbus, Mississippi. Again, same general area. So our radar is picking it up. But again, the way this is tracking just a little north of east could perhaps keep this just outside of Lauderdale County if that motion continues. But we are going to keep an eye on that just in case. And there's the radar out of Jackson County, not really showing anything, but probably just because it's so far away. There, it's kind of still there, just outside of Caney Hollow, just beyond Lauderdale County. Again, a little bit of rotation showing up here, again with our Muscle Shoals radar, but nothing that's particularly alarming. There you see the latest update, still there. And again, that kind of matches with what we've got going on in other places. All right, I am going to get ready for our cut-in. So I'm just going to briefly talk to the folks here on the TV side of things, just let them know what we're doing, and also let them know where they can go for streaming weather coverage. So I'll be back with you all in just a second. Hey, good evening, everyone. Way 31 Storm Tracker Chief Meteorologist Jeff Castle here. A 31 Alert Day update for you. We finally have some storms that are beginning to push into parts of North Alabama. It's been just kind of a waiting game for us, but there is a severe thunderstorm warning that does include the extreme northwest corner of Colbert County and western Lauderdale County, just northwest of Florence. That is for storms which are back here in northeast Mississippi, which are moving their way on in and off to the east. These storms are going to be capable of producing some strong wind gusts and perhaps some hail as well. Here's the time of arrival into the Waterloo area around 1:42, Cloverdale Junior High School around 2:15, and the Iron City St. Joseph area just across the state line there in southern Middle Tennessee around 2:15, 2:20 or so. This is all that we have going on currently in terms of any storm activity. I'll zoom out the picture here, and across the rest of North Alabama, it does remain rather quiet. So we've got a band of storms across southern Middle Tennessee. Some of these are packing a punch, particularly the storm around Lawrenceburg, and these do extend back towards the west into northeast Mississippi, everything building its way on east. So it's going to get a little bit more active here in the northwest part of the state for you folks in Lauderdale as well as Colbert County. But we're still probably 2 or 3 hours away really before anything reaches the I-65 corridor here in North Alabama. Tornado watch is out until 5 o'clock in the morning. It includes all of North Alabama except for the northeast corner of the state. Marshall, Jackson, DeKalb County not included in this tornado watch, but again, that goes until 5 o'clock in the morning. Storms, as they move on through, are going to be capable of producing some strong wind in particular, perhaps an isolated tornado, and maybe some larger hail as well. We are watching. Want to know that if you want more information, live streaming on our apps, also on social media, meteorologist Jeff Castle Facebook page, the Way 31 Facebook page as well as the Way 31 YouTube channel. We will continue to provide some updates here throughout the night. Obviously, if we get a tornado warning, we'll break in for that as well. But in the meantime, you can follow us on our digital platforms for streaming weather updates. For now, we'll send it back to our regular programming. Continue to look for the latest information as well, scrolling across the bottom of your screen. All right. So that was a little bit of a live update. For the folks looking for TV information. Good news is we're not in a need to provide emergency weather information right now, as everything is just now starting to come in to the shoals. Let me get up here, though, into Lawrence County. Again, this is just outside of what's our regular coverage area. I mean, this is a pretty nasty storm coming on through. I'll take a different couple radar looks here. Again, north of Etheridge, north of Lawrenceburg, northern Lawrence County. May get a downstream warning that includes parts of Giles County as well. But again, this is well north of the state line. But this is definitely a mean-looking storm. There you see the rotation showing up. Green is toward the radar. This is the radar out of Jackson County in Alabama. Green's toward, red's away. There's your rotation showing up here just north of Etheridge. And this does have a very interesting look to it with this particular line segment coming on through. And sometimes what you can get, and what this looks like to me, we call it a bookend vortice. We refer to it as a comma head just because of the shape. If you know what the shape of a comma is, where if you were to type a comma and what it would look like, and it kind of has that curvature. The reason why it has this shape is this whole northern section of this little band of storm activity, this little line segment, and this whole northern section looks like it's rotating. And within that, you can get brief spin-up type of tornadoes. We've seen it happen. The last time I saw this happen personally in tracking storms where we had tornadoes produced was actually back in the morning of April 27, 2011. We had a similar feature. It was actually a larger scale that went through a large part of Marshall County on that morning, if you remember, for those of you that have been here a long time and were here for that. and we had multiple weak tornadoes that were produced by a similar feature, just on a larger scale. So that's kind of what I'm seeing here. So the tornado warning does continue, and just based on the way that it looks, it's possible that this is going to be extended on into Giles County. Again, just north of our area. This is going to be north of Pulaski is where it's going to stay. But again, continuing to move across far northern Lawrence County into Giles County in Middle Tennessee, and probably on that track, it would probably stay just north of Lincoln County, which is in our coverage area. So we're going to continue to watch that. Again, that's a definitely an interesting feature on radar, not something that you see all the time. Taking a look here at our radar out of Muscle Shoals, probably just out of range, but let me see what we got here. Yeah, this is just a little bit out of range, so we don't have quite all the data showing up here. So again, that's just north of us. Otherwise, quick look here, looking at wind velocity with our live radar out of Muscle Shoals. Don't really see anything that's too alarming. This is just a little bit of a wind shift associated with that line, again, as it extends back right along the state border there, heading into Lauderdale County. And again, there were some areas back out to the west here that we're watching. Let me take a look at some different radar information just to see if there's anything in particular I need to focus on. You know, there's still a little broad rotation. Saw the latest update northwest of Waterloo. Again, maybe not enough to prompt any sort of warning. So for now, we just have the severe thunderstorm warning. And again, just a little bit. Near Caney Hollow, a little bit of rotation. But again, nothing that's really, and there you see the latest scan update, it's kind of fizzling a little bit. So I don't think we have a big concern about any sort of tornado development with this activity that is currently moving into Lauderdale County. But there is a lot of lightning coming in northwest of Waterloo, and especially back over here towards Corinth, Mississippi. And again, all this is going to be tracking into that northwestern corner of Colbert County, western parts of Lauderdale County. So again, that's the only thing that is imminent right now. Again, pretty well right on time with what we were showing with Future Radar on our 10 o'clock newscast, and really when I've done some updates throughout the day. It has been indicating around 1 o'clock in the morning was when storms were going to start to enter the northwest corner of Alabama. So at least some of the modeling data has done very, very well as far as the timing of all this goes. And again, that's the only game in town right now. Rest of North Alabama, it's a waiting game. We've got this band of heavier storm activity that extends back north and northwest to Tupelo. It stops. Let me expand a little bit more here on the view. Looks like it pretty well stops along Interstate 22, northwest of Tupelo. There's a gap back to the west there. So this is going to be just one band that we're going to be watching. That's coming through right now. Going to give or provide a threat of severe weather across parts of northwest Alabama, areas of southern Middle Tennessee. Let me show you the bigger picture here. I'll show you the regional radar. So that's what we've got. We've got this one band. This is kind of the tail end of a fairly solid line that developed earlier in Illinois, stretched back through parts of Arkansas. That has all moved eastward, and we're now starting to get in on some of that. There's a break back into northwest Mississippi. And then we are starting to see a little bit more activity developing here. Parts of Louisiana, mostly a little outside, a little south of Shreveport, a little north of Alexandria. Looks like a little development taking place here in southern and southeastern Arkansas as well. There's one chunk of energy that's generated this line of storms. There's another little chunk of energy back here into Texas, heading into the Arklatex, which is helping to fire up some additional storms just ahead of a cold front. That's moving through southwest Arkansas, northeast Texas, and into northwest Louisiana. So that next little bit of energy, starting to see things develop in association with that ahead of a cold front. And I expect what we're going to see as the night wears on is we're going to see an increase in thunderstorm activity across parts of northeast Louisiana, southeast Arkansas, heading into parts of central Mississippi, probably near and north of Jackson. And then the activity, it's going to build north and east, which is going to take it into parts of North Alabama. So I think we're going to end up with a couple waves here. We're going to see this band of storms kind of come through, and then we're going to see additional development to our south and west that's going to end up coming through a little bit later on into the overnight hours. And again, there's going to be a continued threat of severe weather out of all of this as it comes on through. Got a report of quarter-sized hail near Pickwick Dam in Hardin County, Tennessee. Again, that's just outside of our area, but again, showing what these storms are capable of doing as they move into the northwest corner of the state. Let's get you another radar update here. Again, strongest storms still just a little west and northwest of you folks in Waterloo, western tip of Lauderdale County, seeing some heavy rain, some thunder and lightning. Again, that is the reason for the severe thunderstorm warning for this little part of this line that extends back towards Corinth in Mississippi, approaching the Iuka area. Again, that severe thunderstorm warning goes until 1:45. We're just now starting to see the leading edge of this line enter the northwest corner of the state. We've also got a very strong, well-organized storm here, again in Lawrence County in southern Middle Tennessee. And again, there have been tornado warnings associated with this, what we call the bookend vortice. There's rotation, broad rotation showing up here. There's also the reason why it gets this shape. Notice how it's bowing out here. Punch of strong wind causing this bow pattern to appear. So it looks like the tornado warning was allowed to expire as it came right up to the Lawrence-Giles County line. But now, this may be a swath of some very strong wind, damaging wind coming in across Giles County. So from Pulaski northward, that could be a concern. And again, we're going to have to watch and see what this storm does as it moves a little closer to Lincoln County, which is part of our coverage area, but definitely could be looking at some strong winds showing up here as well. Now moving out of Lawrence County, Tennessee, and on into Giles County as well. I think we'll have continued severe thunderstorm warnings associated with this part of this line segment as it continues to move its way on off to the east and probably a little to the northeast. So again, that's just kind of the bigger picture here. We got this strong damaging wind potential, and we'll have to continue to watch. Again, this is just north of us, north of our coverage area, but continue to watch for maybe an isolated tornado threat there on the northern extent of that. And then the line extends back into western Lauderdale County, parts of northeast Mississippi, with a continued threat for perhaps some strong wind gusts and occasionally maybe some hail out of this. These are the hail cores. They're not real significant, but perhaps a little small hail. They're close to Waterloo. Again, there was a report, Pickwick Dam, which is, if you follow the Tennessee River, follow that back into western Tennessee, that's where the dam is. And that hail core is what went through there. And I guess a report of some hail that was quarter-sized out of that. And it was probably back, maybe a little closer to here. A little bit more significant there, a little bit of a brighter color. Again, close to the dam there. That hail core has kind of lost a little bit of its significance, so maybe not quarter-sized anymore, but still perhaps some dime or penny-sized hail showing up a little northwest of Waterloo. And there's more significant hail core farther back to the west, a little bit deeper there into the Mississippi. So again, that's not an immediate threat to the northwest corner of the state. But again, stout line of storms. There's a lot of lightning with this. A lot of lightning, especially back towards Ripley, where again there's a more significant hail core there. Let me track all this out. Very slowly headed east. Maybe a little bit of a jog to the northeast. And again, this kind of fits with a lot of the data. The northern part of this line segment, northern Limestone County, maybe not quite to Athens, here in the next hour or so. But all this is tracking east. Again, Waterloo, you're going to get it first. The Underwood, Petersville area there in Lauderdale County, coming up 240-ish. Your time right now is 1:20, so I mean, we're still maybe an hour away from any of this even getting to Florence, Sheffield, Muscle Shoals. Maybe closer to 3 a.m. before we see this activity make it that far into Lauderdale, Colbert County. So these storms are not coming in real quick, but they're packing a punch as they do. Let me check here on the live stream. Go back to my page as well. Again, someone just asking about Florence. Or checking in from Florence, checking in from Madison. Justin, hopefully I got your, but let me get back up there. That was 17 minutes ago about the tornado potential there in Tennessee. Ken asking, storms are moving about 20 miles per hour. Yeah, they're kind of creeping along. Initially, they were coming in a little quicker. And I will say the northern extent of this line segment, what we have moving through Lawrence and Giles County, that's moving a little faster than what the trailing part of the line is moving. So we got a little bit of a discrepancy here. And that's maybe even why there's kind of a gap, that this part of the segment of this line moving quicker than what's back to the west, so that's why you kind of have this break showing up perhaps. So this activity is not in any hurry, I'll say, to move on through, which is why we've got this prolonged potential severe weather threat overnight tonight. Okay, let me just do a quick update here for the folks here in southern Tennessee with this storm. Again, this is perhaps a damaging wind threat coming through near and north of Pulaski there in Giles County. Again, this part of this storm moving through pretty quick. We were watching the northern extent of it. That's where we were seeing some rotation. So let me take a look at some of the data here. Show the Weather Service radar at a high top. There's still a little bit west of Linville, greens toward, reds away, so still some rotation showing up on the northern extent of this storm. Maybe not quite enough to prompt another tornado warning, but that's something that's going to have to be watched. And again, we've got this push of strong wind coming through as well. Let me track that out. And again, this storm is moving a good bit faster. Let me just check the details on it. Yeah, this is moving about twice as fast. This part of this line segment of this line that extends from southern Tennessee back into northeast Mississippi, this part moving about twice as fast as what we have coming out of Mississippi into the northwest corner of the state. So that's why there's going to be a greater risk, I think, for seeing some strong wind gusts out of this. So that's going to continue to carry it through Giles County, perhaps impacting northern parts of Lincoln County as well as it moves in that direction. But again, that's moving at quite a bit faster pace than what we have back in here into Mississippi. And the fact that this is moving slow, we may also have some problems with some flooding that may develop. So as this heavier line comes into Colbert, Lauderdale County, if it's slow to move through and it continues to rain heavily in the same areas, we may have a problem with some flooding. And I know that's often a problem out here in the northwest corner of the state. Last few times we've had some significant weather move through and some heavy rainfall, we've had some problems with flooding. So the ground out here has already had a lot of rain in recent weeks. So hopefully this is not going to cause additional issues with that, with some more flooding out here. But we're going to have to watch for that because of the slow motion. We could see the rain really start to add up in these areas with this part of this line of storms not in a huge hurry to scoot on through. All right. I'm going to take a little sip of water, and then I'm going to check in on some of the comments. And keep in mind here, what we do here on the streaming, we do try to keep it a little bit more casual, as long as we're not tracking anything that is particularly alarming. And right now we're not, so that's a good thing. Heavy storms moving into Lauderdale County will be impacting parts of Colbert County. Nothing, at least at the moment, that is too crazy going on out here with the weather. And we are hoping that we will keep it that way. Let me refresh here. All right. So we do have some more questions about timing. So what I'm going to run through, again, this is not, this line is going to be the only thing that swings on through. I'm not expecting that's going to be the case. So I don't want to track this out completely. But let's at least track it out short term. So what we've got coming here across Colbert, Lauderdale County. It's not in any hurry to move east. Again, this is only moving maybe around 25 miles per hour. So this is going to be the time of arrival of all this. Cherokee, still a ways out before what is west of Iuka makes its way along 72 there. So Cherokee not until around 211 or so. Petersville area around 227. Again, Florence, Muscle Shoals, we're a little bit more than an hour perhaps. Unless this picks up some speed, we're a little bit more than an hour even from reaching the Florence area, a little bit after that into Muscle Shoals. So again, slow to move in here, dumping some heavy rain, quite a bit of lightning. There's going to be the threat for some hail, maybe up to quarter size. I don't think we'll get anything bigger than that. And we're also going to have to continue to monitor for any sort of spin that may be developing, and we're going to take a look at that as I clear this out. And I'm going to pull up our live radar out of Muscle Shoals, and we're going to take a closer view at that. So this is what it looks like, the irregular rain view with our radar in Muscle Shoals. And then let's take a look inside the storms and just to make sure that there's not anything of any concern. And I'm not seeing anything here at the moment. In terms of any tornado potential. There's the radar out of Columbus, Mississippi. It's not really seeing anything either. Maybe a little broad rotation back over here towards Iuka. But that's really about it. This could actually end up being some strong wind as well back towards Iuka. So I'm not really seeing any tornado potential at the moment out of any of this activity. Severe thunderstorm warning in effect here, I think for another 15 minutes for parts of Lauderdale as well as Colbert County. And we'll see if that's extended in time beyond this. All right. Let me again, for everyone asking about timing, I really think the best thing to show you is future radar, which has actually done a pretty good job, I will say. Again, showing the activity there at Lawrenceburg, again, moving into the northwest corner of Lauderdale County. So what I'm going to show you here, you're going to see this line that's going to continue to slowly push on in. So that's what we're going to show you first here with future radar, just to give you some time frame here. I'm going to take you up to 3 in the morning. It's not made much progress. Again, the Florence, Muscle Shoals area, maybe 2:30, 2:45, maybe 3 o'clock before it gets there. We will continue to see that activity around Lawrenceburg head towards Lincoln County. Some strong wind, a possibility as that moves in. But again, even by 3 o'clock in the morning, we're an out 90 minutes from now, northern part of this line in northwest Alabama has made it to eastern Lauderdale County. The southwest flank, still back here close to the state line in western parts Colbert County. So again, what we're tracking right now is not going to come in very quick. So through 3 o'clock, we may still not have much going on here. From Moulton, Decatur, Huntsville, points on off to the east. We've got that batch that comes through. And then it looks like this is a new update. 5 o'clock in the morning, finally seeing get a little stormy from Moulton to Decatur to Huntsville. Keep in mind, this is when the tornado watch is expiring. And we'll wait and see. There may be another watch that does come out. That includes areas to the east of this line. I think a lot of that will be determined by what the atmospheric conditions are looking like at that point in time, and then also what has happened with the storms here in the next few hours, and if they've caused any sort of problems out there in terms of damage. You know, if we get very many reports of anything, either in terms of wind or hail or a tornado threat. Let's take you to, here we go, 6:30, 7 in the morning. That batch moves on out. But again, we're likely looking towards sunrise. There is going to be stuff that comes at us out of Mississippi. So let's back it up here. This is 6 a.m. And at that point, kind of the tail end of what stretches back into northern Mississippi before we get that break in the line. That's what's going to be coming through the Huntsville area towards Winchester there in southern Middle Tennessee. So that'll be kind of the tail end of that. Then there's going to be that break, and then I'm still expecting we're probably going to see some development overnight tonight back into parts of central Mississippi. And then that's going to make a run, it appears, into North Alabama around daybreak tomorrow. So 8 o'clock in the morning may have another cluster or line of storms that comes through I-65 corridor and into Sand Mountain. So that's why, and if you've been looking at this, we've had the severe weather outlook that ran through tonight, and then parts of North Alabama were included in the severe weather outlook that runs through the day on Monday. And that's because this is not going to be one and done sort of thing. So we may still be tracking mid-morning tomorrow, maybe some areas of stronger thunderstorms. We'll have to wait and see if there's still a severe weather threat at this point in time. Let me show you here. We should have gotten, we're at 1:30. Should have gotten our new severe weather outlooks for Monday. So let me take a look at that. So that should be refreshed. So here's the new severe weather outlook. Have to change that. That was the old day one severe weather outlook. This is the new day one, which is for Monday. Starts at 7 o'clock this morning. Still showing parts of northeast Alabama, even at 7 a.m., there may be a continued threat for some severe weather. And then that is all going to shift off to our east and southeast as we take you through the day on Monday. So that is the new update here. Let me just go ahead and change that to today. So this is the new severe weather outlook for Monday, which we're now past midnight. I guess it's officially Monday. And again, early in the morning through 7, 8, 9 o'clock, we may still have some stronger storm activity there across the northeast corner of the state. There's a zoomed-in view here. So by 7 a.m., especially out towards the shoals, in particular southern Middle Tennessee, we're going to be done with any severe weather threat. But areas across Sand Mountain, until those storms completely clear by mid-morning, may have a continued threat for some severe weather in that direction. All right, let's get you another radar update. Nothing new from the Weather Service. Again, these are our storms coming in, making a little bit of progress almost into northwest parts of Colbert County, western Lauderdale County. Again, we're seeing the heavy rain and the lightning around Waterloo right now. But again, just that northwest corner of the state. Southern Middle Tennessee. I will say this is kind of losing its structure a little bit. Lawrence County, Giles County, northeast of Pulaski, maybe still some strong wind here. This is not looking quite as bad as it had looked. We'll see if we get, looks like there is an extension of a severe thunderstorm warning north of Lincoln County, so that'll be for what is coming out of Giles County, there towards Lewisburg, Petersburg area. Again, maybe some strong wind coming in with that. We got another update here. So the Weather Service, they're not going to go with any sort of warning for Lincoln County. But it does look like a new warning for parts of Giles County and areas north of Lincoln County here in southern Middle Tennessee. So Lincoln County at the moment, Weather Service is not going to issue severe thunderstorm warning for you folks in Lincoln County for this storm. And it is looking like maybe the worst of it will pass a little to your north. Storm back in Mississippi. Again, there's a gap. This is the extent of that line. Stops northwest of Tupelo. Nothing else out there at the moment. But this will be swinging towards the northwest corner of the state slowly. But we are still seeing some indications of primarily some hail out of this storm. Let's take a look at our hail tracker. There you see a hail core west of Booneville, Mississippi. So that's a threat at the moment. We'll wait and see if that holds together. These hail cores, as they've come into northwest Alabama, they kind of have fallen apart. So hopefully that'll continue to be the trend with this one as well. Just get a quick look here with our live radar out of Muscle Shoals. There's the regular radar view, and you can see where everything is relative to Waterloo, back towards Iuka, Mississippi. Packing a punch, heavy rainfall, lightning, maybe some gusty wind. And then a quick look here at the wind velocity coming through. I don't see anything that jumps out at my eye that says tornado threat. So that is some good news. That's what we like to see. Columbus, Mississippi radar, same thing. Not seeing anything particularly alarming out of this. Yep. So for now, just some heavy rain, some thunder and lightning. Western Lauderdale County, right on the state line coming into northwestern parts of Colbert County. Lots of lightning, heavy rainfall, really not even seeing a substantial hail threat out of this, but let's take another look here. A couple small hail cores, one side or the other of Waterloo, but nothing that really looks significant in terms of hail potential. And just a quick look here, wind shear wise. Again, nothing that is an immediate concern showing up here, but something that we will continue to keep an eye on. Step away again for a minute. I'm going to leave the radar up here and continue to watch things. But as we are starting to get our morning crew folks coming on in, just going to give them a debrief. But we'll be back with you in an update here in just a little bit. When got that squared away, we're going to do another top of the hour update, so you may hear me do this. Do have a couple new things to pass along to you. Number one, the severe thunderstorm warning for Lauderdale, Colbert County, that's going to be allowed to expire here in the next few minutes. So at least for now, they're not going to reissue a warning for this storm as it's moving into the northwest corner of the state. So some good news. I'm hoping it's going to stay that way. Things are going to behave themselves. The other update that I have for you is I mentioned we're likely going to see some additional storm development in central Mississippi that is going to roll in here a little bit later on tonight and early tomorrow morning. Well, there is now a severe thunderstorm watch that has been issued for that area. So we've got a couple things going on. So we've got the tornado watch. That's the yellow box that you see here That again, excuse me, includes everyone except Northeast Alabama. That goes until 5. Severe thunderstorm watch, let me check on the timing of it. It's the one thing I didn't check. I saw that it was there, but didn't look at the time. That goes until 8 a.m. So we got 5 a.m. on our tornado watch. The pink box, that's severe thunderstorm watch, fairly large one, stretching across Louisiana on into Mississippi. That one goes until 8. And it does include some of this activity that you see here into southern Arkansas as well. So again, that's kind of what we are expecting here. We're going to have this batch of this line which falls apart in northeast Mississippi, then there's a break, and then activity is likely going to fill in here northeast Louisiana, southeast Arkansas, central Mississippi, and then some of that is going to try to make a run into North Alabama a little bit later on tonight. But again, for now, warnings have been allowed to expire on our severe thunderstorm warnings for Colbert and Lauderdale County. We do have a severe thunderstorm warning for Giles County, but it does not include Lincoln County, Tennessee. There are still some active severe thunderstorm warnings, though, back in Mississippi, from near Iuka back to Boonville for these stronger storms back in this direction, and we'll have to wait and see what they do as they come on into the area. But again, I'm going to take a little break here. I just saw meteorologist Amber Kulik. I don't think she's hiding from me, maybe. But I'm going to chat with her a little bit, and we're going to go from there. We're going to continue to watch storms for you. Again, tornado watch officially in effect until 5 a.m. I think overall the tornado potential is pretty low. And one of these things that you'll notice if you watch severe weather coverage long enough, if there is any chance of a tornado, they put out the tornado watch. Even if the main threat, as we've been talking about, would be damaging wind, tornado watch is always going to supersede that if there's any chance whatsoever. I think the chance that we get something is going to be pretty low, but it is something that we'll have to watch. Mostly would likely be in the form of a brief spin up if it happened. Otherwise, at least short term, strong wind gusts appear to be the main concern. That's what we've gotten reports of just outside of the area, and also some occasional reports of some larger hail. We may actually be seeing that here in northwestern parts of Colbert County. So just before I take another quick break here, just want to see, we got a little bit of a hail core. And again, this is just south of Waterloo, northwest of Cherokee. Hail core is a little bit more significant with the activity back a little bit farther into northeast Mississippi, especially here towards Boonville. So going to keep an eye on that. We will leave the radar up for now as we make the handoff between the Sunday night crew and the Monday morning crew. But we'll continue to give you updates as we need to, of course, here online and anything on air as well. You will see me back in just a second, about 10 minutes or so from now. I am going to do an on-air update. But for now, I'm going to take a quick break and talk to Amber. with the possibility that we do see some stronger wind associated with that, and maybe some hail. There was a little bit of a hail core showing up out of this. It's not much. Here east of Waterloo, north of Cherokee, little hail core. And at least the way this looks on radar, excuse me, maybe a little gusty wind out of this. I think that's still our big threat, is going to be for some strong wind gusts with this activity. Nothing really showing up in terms of spin. This is the radar out of Columbus, Mississippi, but it is picking up on some wind. So let's kind of track this out for you. This warning, by the way, goes until 2:30. And mainly issued for quarter-size hail. I'm really not even saying anything about wind out of this. Moving east now around 35, so moving a little bit quicker. Let me change the time on this. East at 35. Kind of track it out. So this is in western Lauderdale County right now, coming into the Florence area, around 217, which is really kind of about the time frame that we've been telling you. I think earlier when I tracked some of this activity coming out of Mississippi, it was around 2:30 in Florence, maybe a little bit quicker arrival there. Killen by 227 into the Elgin area around 241. Possibility for some up to quarter-size hail, maybe some strong wind out of this as well. Again, officially there is a tornado watch in effect for this area, but we're just not seeing anything of big concern about tornado potential. By the way, I'm going to be doing another near the top of the hour update coming up at 2:05, and then I'm going to turn the reins over to meteorologist Amber Kulik for the remainder of the morning, although she'll have some things she has to get updated before we go on the air at 4:30. But let me take a quick look here with our radar out of Muscle Shoals. That's the reflectivity or the rainfall. That is a look at the wind velocity. Not really seeing anything here of any concern. You can see the wind shift. Again, the green is what's blowing towards the radar, so there's your wind shift associated with this thunderstorm. And again, maybe some stronger wind gusts, perhaps. Again, the severe thunderstorm warning was issued for a potential hail threat. And again, that hail core, a little east of Waterloo, right along the Tennessee River, north of Cherokee, moving its way on off to the east. So possibly some hail, maybe up to quarter size. I think that would be the extent of it. There's more significant hail core still back towards Boonville, northeast Mississippi. So we'll have to wait and see if that holds together as it moves on into northwest Alabama. Again, there's the wider view of the radar. Storm's kind of in, back towards Boonville. There is a little bit of shower activity starting to develop a little more towards Oxford, Mississippi, where University of Mississippi, of course, is located. But really the threat for stronger thunderstorms kind of stops here around Boonville, but all this is tracking east and will continue to come into the shoals. Again, back out to the west and especially the southwest, we're going to be watching for additional development of thunderstorm activity for the rest of tonight. Let me pull that up for you. This is going to be the bigger radar regional view. See, there's a gap in the action from northeast Mississippi back into southern Arkansas. Bigger storms developing into parts of central Louisiana, south of the I-20 corridor. Some of those have severe thunderstorm warnings on them. These are going to continue to build and develop off to the north and east. Severe thunderstorm watch here in the pink that goes through mid-Mississippi. And again, some of this activity from southern Arkansas down into central Louisiana likely is going to congeal into some sort of cluster of storms. And then some of that looks like it's going to make a run into the northern part of Alabama late tonight, early tomorrow morning. So our tornado watch in yellow goes to I-65, goes until 5. We'll have to wait and see. Maybe there's another watch that comes out for the time frame beyond that. That would probably, if there is one, would include areas down to Birmingham and probably a little bit of northeast Alabama where we currently don't have any weather watches in play. And again, we'll be keeping an eye on that as we work our way through the late night hours. We'll see how it all comes together. Again, so far storms relatively behaving in our area. Again, a couple severe thunderstorm warnings, not really seeing any big tornado threat that's developing out of any of this, but that is something that we'll continue to keep a watch on as we take you through the rest of tonight. Again, I'll be doing another live cut-in coming up here in about a minute and a half, so bear with me while we go through that process. Quick check here from the Weather Service. Just got our severe thunderstorm warning, goes until 2:30 for Lauderdale. Colbert County primarily was drawn up because of a hail threat, so we'll be keeping an eye on that potential. Just a quick look at running through the comments here. You know, a lot of folks probably in bed, to be honest. We told you that it's important to have a way to get weather alerts because of that, but we also told you that this would be late night stuff. Right now it's in the Shoals, little else going on in other locations. That will be that way until probably a little bit later on into the overnight hours, but obviously we're going to continue to keep a close watch on things. And I think we'll be coming up here in just a second with our our live on-air update, just to let people know that we're still here watching for those on the TV end of things. All right, hey, we thought we'd had a little open that would run. Hello, everyone. Way 31 Storm Tracker Chief Meteorologist Jeff Gassler. Just want to give you a quick update on the weather. Officially, a tornado watch is in effect. We do have some stronger thunderstorm activity coming in across the northwest corner of the state. Severe thunderstorm warnings in effect until 2:30 for areas mostly of Lauderdale County. But also parts of Colbert County as well. We'll focus in a little closer here on Way 31 Triple Doppler and show you what we do have coming on through. And again, there are some stronger storms here, packing a bit of a punch. It's a little noisy with the thunder and the lightning ongoing. And there is a possibility for this storm northwest of Florence, possibility of some hail associated with that, maybe nickel up to quarter size. That's the main threat, although there does remain the possibility the storm may produce some strong wind gusts as well. We will track this off to the east. This will be coming through the Florence area, mostly Lauderdale County, but a little bit of Colbert County as well. That could take it to just north and into the Muscle Shoals vicinity. 216 into the Florence area, into Killen by 228. Lexington by 238. Again, the threats right now, heavy rain, lightning, perhaps some nickel to maybe quarter-size hail, and also the possibility for some strong wind gusts. Again, there is a tornado watch that is in effect for all but the northeast corner of the state that goes until 5 o'clock in the morning. Storms will take their time moving across North Alabama, so for some of you, it may be 4, 5, 6 in the morning before you see much, but what does move through will likely pack a bit of a punch at times. We'll, of course, continue to be here watching things for you. Meteorologist Amber Kulik in with me, and she'll be taking over here as we head through the rest of tonight and on into early tomorrow morning, and we'll continue to provide you updates here on air. We are also doing some streaming updates as well on our website, on our apps, and on our social media accounts. For now, though, we'll send you back to regular programming.
This has been a 31 Alert Day weather update. We now return to your regular programming.